Good evening, everybody. Simon here, Explosive Action, back for a death metal vinyl record update. I've got 7 records here I picked up from Seance Records here in Australia, so let's get into it. In my last couple of videos, I've talked about the distros and the labels that I purchased things from. This one is no exception. Today I am showing 7 records I got from Seance Records. They are a Australian label and distro, formerly out of Sydney, but have now relocated to Adelaide in South Australia. Not only are they a great distributor, but they're also the label for bands such as Nazul, Pestilential Shadows, Curvner have a release on them. Plenty of other good bands as well. They do records, tapes, CD releases, and as for the distro, in Australia, they are the main distributors for NWN, Nuclear War Now, and Iron Bonehead, as well as other great labels such as Debima Morti, and some of the ones I'm going to be showing here today as well. So let's get into the records. And we're going to start off with some crushing Finnish death metal of the new school variety. This one people have talked about many times before. This is Morbific with Ominous Seep of Putridity. What an outstanding title for an album. Finnish death metal, as I said, and they really made a name for themselves with this release when it came out in 2021, originally on CD only. Recently, I think it was last year, maybe late last year, there was a record release that came out. I think it was from a very small Finnish label, and it was a little bit difficult to get. But now we have the MSUO press, Miseko Unujo, so much easier to get, and that's the one I've got here. If you've not heard these guys, yeah, like I said on the onset, it is crushing and ugly and nasty death metal. It's the way I like it. It ominously seeps of putridity, you could say. It starts off with a intro that sounds like it came off the soundtrack to a Lucio Fulci movie like Zombie. I mean, it fits in perfectly, you know, sounds of dripping flesh against cinematic synthwave. It's just a perfect introduction. The riffs sludge their way into the song, monstrously heavy and dirgy. The title of the album kind of describes the riffs. They just seep of putridity. Is such a great title. The band, they might be from Finland, and you know, you say Finnish death metal and you have a sound in your head, but their sound is actually a bit more in the sort of cyanide and autopsy style. So, you know, a little bit more American sounding than your Demolish and your Demigod or anything like that. You know, mixed with probably sort of like Death Doom things like Anatomia or maybe the band Rotten. I think I hear a lot of them in here. Even a little bit of early Cannibal Corpse at times. The guitar tone, though. The guitar tone sounds Swedish. Not quite your HM2, but it is pretty European sounding. So that's really where the Scandinavian kind of sound is coming into it. Bludgeoning, straightforward riffs, thick, chunky drums, balanced, moderate pace groove. That's what really, I think, grabbed people with this one, is it's got a lot of groove to it. The vocals are ultra guttural. They are really guttural. I guess sort of comparable to Leprophiliac would be a good example. There's the band down there. Look, you even see the Autopsy shirt and the Impetigo shirt. Great combination to describe the sound that's going on here. The drummer in this band's also in the Finnish death grind band Sadistic Drive, who are really good. Definitely worth checking them out. This has got some really fun movie quotes dotted throughout it. I like that when bands do it. Don't overuse it. Like, it's not Mortician here, just a few little quotes. The last track's got Suspiria on it, which was nice, goes well with that intro zombie sound. It's just a fun debut from this band. Like, they were really hitting it out of the park when they dropped this thing. I mean, look, the logo even looks like Impetigo. I think that was the whole point. You know, there's old mate with his Impetigo shirt, and there's the Morbific logo. They're not hiding it. They're literally wearing it on their sleeves. They followed it up last year with an equally good, but a little bit divisive album, I would say. It's the production is what caused a lot of anguish with people. And admittedly, when I first put it on there, I did check my stylist to make sure it was properly centered in the groove, because it was all mids. It's all mids. There's like very little bass in the new one. But once you get used to it and you play it a few times, the new album, it makes sense and it all really works. Even though it's quite thin and reedy, it does work. But this one, this is just like a stampede of elephants. It is brutal and it is guttural, and it's monstrously heavy. It seeps in putridity. How many times am I going to say that? We'll take a quick look inside. Nothing too exciting. I think it was just a black LP. Yeah, black LP there. Very nice. And was there anything else inside? No, that's all your lot. So there you go. Morbific with Ominous Seep of Putridity. Definitely check this one out. Next up, we have 2 early releases from this Chilean death metal band. The name I have been practicing how to say. They are called Unaussprechlichen Kulten. What a mouthful. The first one we're going to take a look at here is called Wake Up in the Night of Walpurgis. Man, great cover, great title. Hard to say band name, but I think I got it right. So this is the debut album from them. They originally put this out on CD in 2005. This is the first time on record, came out in 2022. If you've not heard these guys, as they have been kicking around, they're still going now. They got an album, I think the last one might have been 2019 or 2020. Good comparisons for me actually were Australian, and that's probably just coincidental, but I'm hearing Oni, Sun Tzu, and to an extent the first Portal album, Sepia. I think they're pretty good comparisons, but outside of Australia, there's definitely a little bit of Time Ghoul in there, but it's particularly on these early albums, there's a lot of sort of Imprecation, that evil sounding death metal, and there is sort of there's a bass level sort of Suffocation palm muted riffs in here, but don't go thinking this is like New York style death metal. It is not at all. This is occult Cthulhu dark death metal from the other world. It just shares a few some elements, some common elements with these bands. Even Deeds of Flesh, something like Inbreeding the Anthropophagi, I think might have a little bit in here. Just the way that they keep chopping and changing as they play, like they don't stick to anything for long. It's very almost brutal death metal in its approach. Very dense, obscure sounding stuff. A very tight band, even in this formative years. This is the, as I said, first press out on Iron Bonehead. They've picked up their old albums. They're doing their current albums. I think you can pretty much say Iron Bonehead is Unaussprechlichen's label at the moment. The only thing about this album is it's so damn short, and that's not the only time this happens. 28 minutes long. There's the inside, there's the guys, looking very metal. Even got a Suffocation shirt, I'm telling you. Got your Headless Angel, looks like it's come out of Exorcist 3. Nice gatefold, and we take a look in here. A little bit tight to get out. You get Iron Bonehead inner, and so there you go. Band photos there in the back. Now I think this one here really sums up some of the sound. Like, it is decaying skull. Oh man. And his old mate here on bass has got the actual band shirt on. So yeah, just a black one. I won't bother showing you that one, but yeah, this is the first album here from Unaussprechlichen Kulten, Wake Up in the Night of Walpurgis. But I didn't just stop there. I picked up the second album, which is one I had on CD, but when in Rome. People of the Monolith. This one was originally a 2008 CD. The original LP, there was one back in 2010. Long out of print, but this is the 2019 Iron Bonehead press, continuing the same theme. Nice gatefold covers. Again, more of that dark and twisted Cthulhu death metal here. A little bit more, they're starting to, each album, get closer to where they are now from 2019's latest album. Which they're just getting more their own identity each time another album drops, but they always have that very dark and unique sound. Their vocalist, you can always pick it's him. He's hard to confuse with anybody else. He's pretty unique sounding, at least in the realms of death metal. Maybe there's a little bit more immolation-isms in this one, like some guitar squeals and all that kind of pinch harmonics. There's a little bit of that floating around, wasn't in the first one. The overall sound just has that occult flavor. I mean, look at this. They're all worshipping witches and things going on here. I don't know what the hell's coming out of there, but it is scary as hell. The depths of this is all bottom end, and I think that really, really just adds to the murkiness. It is... Oh, it's a thick and nasty sounding one. There's no wild solos. There's no verse-chorus structure. It's just down-tuned riffs. bouncing between each other. Like the first album I was saying, that they kind of have that brutal death metal thing where it's sort of collections of riffs all tied together. And this time it's 27 minutes long, more like an EP, and it wouldn't even be that. The original CD was 22 minutes long. The reason this is longer is it's got a cover on it, and the cover song is a Sadistic Intent track, and that stands out like a sore thumb. It's good. It's clearly from a different recording session, and a bit thinner and a bit raspier, but Sadistic Intent do not sound anything like these guys. They're doing a good cover of another death metal band that's got more thrash in them. It works really well. It just is, not like they're covering a similar sounding band or anything. There's the back there, which is looking very Iron Boneheady, all the logos and things. And it's another great album. These guys, there's another, we've got an octopus on top of a statue there. I wonder if they actually did that. It doesn't look CG. I wonder if they just sort of snuck into some alcove and then just threw an octopus on it, took a shot, and then cooked it up for lunch. I have no idea. That's fantastic. Take a look in here. Another gatefold, hard to get them out. Alright, we have another unexciting black LP. But we've got a few bits and bobs here. We've got an inner, it's nice artwork there, that very Cthulhu octopus again. And we get a poster, which will unfold very briefly, which is of the album art. Very nice. That would be a nice one to put on the wall if I had the space. So there you go. That's the second album there from Unaussprechlichen Kulten, People of the Monolith. The third album, the name escapes me in the moment, is the last one I've got on CD. I would like to get on record, but that one's a little bit difficult to find. The newer albums I've had on vinyl, and if you go back to some of my older videos, you'll see that I've talked about them before. But for now, really happy to fill in the gaps with Unaussprechlichen Kulten. This next one is another CD upgrade for me. I got that when it came out. I was very excited, but the LP was much delayed, as many things were around about the time that it came out. They still are now, but go back to a 2020, 2021 kind of period. Many delays, much lateness, but I am talking about Bloodsoaked Necrovoid, expelled into the unknown depths of the unfathomable. Wow, that's a mouthful, and what a glorious cover. We'll get to that one. The reason I got this upgraded was that I had their demos compilation on LP. They just had two demos, Demo 1, Demo 2, and I got that LP compilation back in 2019 or something along those lines. And having the album then on CD, look, sometimes the OCD just kicks in, and I've sorted that problem now, and I like listening to records anyway. Bloodsoaked Necrovoid, if I can say the name right, they're the sort of uglier, doomier, far doomier cousin to Astriferous. So these guys are from Costa Rica. The members at the time of recording this were the same members in Astriferous. It's literally sort of, I don't know which one's the side project, but it's just another band with the same two main guys in it. But they are quite different beasts. This one is slow. Ah, man. This is a sluggish one. Elongated riffs over, very sluggish sounding drums that have that slow, almost funeral doom pitter patter on the kicks, like just as the riff goes, dun, dun, like that kind of thing. Man, my impressions are getting better. Very breathy gutturals on the vocals. It kind of sound like someone blowing in a drain pipe. I mean, if that's the sound you're after, that's absolutely what these guys are doing here. It's death doom bordering on the funeral doom. It really, really is. It gets so slow. Closer to encoffination than what you might think of death doom, like Asphyx or something. Not anything like that at all. He's really getting down to the funeral speeds. Moments of faster pace, but even Disembowelment with doing that. Loving, though, the lengthy song titles in this one. Like, what do we got here? Perverted Astral Intoxication for a Death Incarnation. Say that one 2 times fast. Viciously Consumed by the Unfolding Unknown. Outstanding titles. Inescapable Transference of Profane Malignity. Absolutely fantastic. I love it when they do this. The mix on this one, the guitar is a bit back in the mix. Maybe a bit too far back, if I'm being brutally honest. It is dominated musically here by the drums and those vocals, those blowing down the windpipe vocals, almost like Beherit. Like if you had like a funeral doom version of Beherit vocals, that's probably what you're getting here. it's no deal breaker whatsoever. You get used to it, and it's enjoyable for the style that it is. It's just quite well back in the mix there. The artwork on this one is by an individual called Mork, Morkh. He also did the Cosmic Void Ritual art. That was a band that I really wish kicked on for a bit longer before they broke up. They had a bunch of demos and things, but their final release, he did the artwork for them. And not a bad comparison to this sort of, otherworldly cosmic death doom kind of stuff. Cosmic Void Ritual was sort of on that same path. He also did the artwork for Eschaton's Omega Lithios album and Father Befoul's Desolate Gods. So you probably recognise that kind of style from the Father Befouled for sure. Nice LP on this one. Not a gatefold this time. We have clear. Very shiny clear one. Don't often get clear LPs, but that just happened to be what there was. And you get the lyric sheet, very simple, easy to read. There's the band, well at least there's the drummer smashing away there. Infernal Hails and Undying Support, and they name check Rippercorlu, Inverloch and Winter. So if my description didn't help you, that name check is surely going to, and I'll just put that out before I smash it in half accidentally. For when I'm in the mood for cold, isolated sounding cosmic death doom that's bordering on the funeral, devoid of any light, I like being expelled into the unknown depths of the unfathomable. Next up, we have the new album from Quebec band Profane Order. This one's called One Nightmare Unto Other. Now, I really, really dug the debut from this band, Slave Morality it was called, came out in 2019. Pretty sure I talked about it at the time. As I said, this is their Sophomore from 2023. Obviously similar in style to the debut. It's a little bit different, I think. It's probably a little bit more refined. From the outset, though, I mean, you look at this. If you've never heard the band, that logo, the cover artwork, the name of the thing. Yeah, this is Bestial Black Death. It absolutely is. Very Bestial Black Death in a sort of Titan Blood style. Antichrist Siege Machine would be another good example of a current band doing this. Blizzard of dark riffs, blasting drums, vocally exploding shrill war metal rasps out of the speakers. But what keeps them from being sort of another Revenge clone or anything like that is it's got a bit of groove to it and a little bit of that Dead Congregation hair windmilling going on. Most of the songs have a bit of a switch up. Not all, I think it was the second track actually didn't, but most of the songs have a bit of a sort of a switch up where it goes to like a slowed down passage, or at least it diverts briefly away from the absolute cacophony into just something a little bit different so you can catch your breath, or just keep it a little bit more interesting, right? The third track on this one, A Somber Passage, up there, is a good example, I think, of this one. Shows a little bit of diversity as far as you get in Bestial Black Death. Anyway, goes from that real chaotic sound to a bit of a breakdown kind of arrangement, syncopated chugs with the kick drums, and that's not something you usually hear. And then your wild dive bombs, and then a blasting outro. So, sure, that doesn't sound like the most diverse thing in the world, but when you're talking about something that could be like blasphemy, that's pretty diverse. And it works really well in this style, so yeah, keeps it interesting. The side A closer, Suppression, is 2 minutes and 26 seconds, has very similar patterns to that, but it adds sort of like guitar scraping, like the pick going up and down the strings. It just makes it even nastier, the whole thing. I don't use the word bestial lightly, but that is what you get predominantly on this album. It is a Bestial Black Death album. You know what it is when you hear that word. If you've never heard that term when you're dealing with death metal and black metal, bestial, I don't know. Do I need to educate you? You must know if you're watching this channel. But it's things, to me there's a bit of a difference between war metal and the bestial sound. Like, I think the bestial stuff has that more death metal influence into it, and it is thicker and it is heavier. Well, you can't say that so much about something like Blasphemy. Profane Order definitely are in the heavy side of things. 7 tracks in only 25 minutes length, but this kind of onslaught holds well to a shorter running time, it has to be said. And coincidentally, another great artwork by Mork, Morkh, yet again, that we just showed on the previous works. Another good one here. He's definitely got a flavour. Here's the gatefold. It's 2 guys in the band. Nice photo there. Red and black. And we'll take a look inside the gatefold. Lots of gatefolds tonight. I didn't intend that. It's just how the cookie crumbled. And we get another just black LP. It's very nice. And quite a large poster, this one. There we go. It's just the cover art, but geez, that's a nice poster. Again, oh, you wish you had the wall space. Maybe I should start sticking things on the roof. Profane Order, one nightmare unto other. I don't think this will convince you into this sub-style of sort of bestial black death metal. If you don't like that style, if you think Antichrist, Siege Machine are boring or it's just too one note, it's not going to change your mind. But for me, it does what it says on the tin. We're going to thrash up our blackness now for a little bit of a change. We have the second album here from Witch's Hammer, Devourer of the Dead. Thrashing, speedy black metal madness from Canada's long-running but not overly active band. They formed in 1984, did a couple of mid-80s demo tapes. Their first full-length came out in 2020. Just ridiculous. And that album was called Damnation Is My Salvation. It was absolute belter of that blackened speed metal sound. And these guys love their Bunzai speed metal wheel. You can see it here, and you can see it in the previous album artwork as well. It's just become their own stamp, right? Bunzai Records used to put that spiral logo on anything that they sort of determined was a bit more extreme in their thrash metal. And well, yeah, Witch's Hammer just picked it up and gone with it and made it album covers, and it's fantastic. So what do you get here? Look, you should be able to work it out from my description. It's somewhere between Slaughter's Strappado, Sodom's Obsessed by Cruelty, Slayer Hell Awaits, and something like Destroy 666's Defiance. Whole mixed things there of sort of black, evil, thrash, nasty metal. Fast thrash riffs, real wild, shredding solos. Drums that, while they occasionally blast, they stay rooted in that usual thrash, sort of D beats, speeds, or sort of pounding double kicks, you know. Vocally, very black thrash shouted rasps, like Warbringer or Craven Idol, bands like that. 8 tracks in just over an hour, so you do get a reasonable amount of tunes here. Great, I mean, look at that. That's total black thrash. You even get like the Motorhead kind of cross there. It's just your standard black thrash looking stuff, right? The whole thing like just goes past so fast, it doesn't feel like an hour. Like, it's just constant ferocity all the way through. Check out the track Fatal Attacker, 2 minutes and 10 seconds long. It leaves no room for interpretation. It is just black speed metal in and out. You get in, you thrash your head, you dive bomb your guitar, and you just get the hell out. That's exactly what you get. Love the other logo here, and there's the speed metal that they've picked straight off from Bunzai. You know exactly what you're getting here. Take a look inside. There's their third style logo, which is looking very much like one of the, is it like Destroy 666's Wildfire? Is that the cover? Has that look to it. There's the lyrics, and we'll take a quick look in here. So this originally came out on CD in 2021, but that was sort of peak. Here we go, black. That was sort of peak All the Plants Going to Hell. So it came out in December 2021. The LP didn't hit the shelves till May or June-ish in 2022. I didn't see copies the rest of that year. I kept trying to find them. I don't know, maybe I was looking in the wrong places, but they never showed up. Definitely didn't show up locally. But yeah, finally now I have a copy in my hand here. So I'm very glad to have this. It's a great companion to the debut. Thrash your head to Devourer of the Dead. I'm incredibly happy to have this next release on such a nice LP vinyl pressing. I am talking about the pretty fantastic Imprecation, to hold it tightly or the insides are going to fall out, Imprecation Therugia Goetia Summa. I've never been able to say it properly, but man, that glorious artwork in like the bright, bold colors. It really drew me in when I first had this album, which I'll talk about in a minute. If you're unaware, pretty infamous compilation of demos by this Texan dark death metal band. Came out on CD by Repulse Records in 1995. Here's my CD copy of it. The old Repulse Records logo on the back. Kind of challenging to find now. I've been playing that one for years, but then they finally announced, NWN finally announced, was it NWN? It is NWN, almost made a faux pas. NWN announced this and at sort of the start of this year, I think it was. I was so very, very eager to pick a copy up. Yeah, after a few false starts, finally in my hands now. Just absolutely amazing. So, the compilation of demo tracks from 1992, 93, and 94. These guys have been doing it for quite some time. One of the earliest bands in the style, to be honest. And that's why I use them in other reviews. You've heard me talking about bands. I use Imprecation as a reference point. Lots of newer bands kind of borrow from their songbook a little bit. As for what you get here, 9 tracks, 38 minutes, dark, evil, pretty nasty death metal. The only real comparisons, particularly from that time period, would be Infesta and early Incantation. That's pretty much all that's worth referring to, particularly Infesta. To the Depths of Degradation and the demos on here, yeah, very similar ballpark. Mid-paced, mostly down-tuned, blasphemous death metal. It just seems to randomly blast as much as it often slows down to a slithering crawl. You kind of don't expect it. They almost throw it at you by surprise, and it becomes almost their signature style and their way of playing. Often they do it in sort of the same phrasing, like they're mid one line of vocals and then it just changes from slow to blasting and then goes back. They do it all the time. They sort of construct their songs a little bit like brutal death metal bands would do 5 or so years later. Sort of collections of riffs again that are just stuck together with frequent tempo changes. They can be damned. It's just a great way of making a song from these guys. I'd say the earlier of the demos on here, so as I said, there's 3 demos, 92, 93, 94, plays in reverse order. The newer stuff is at the start. The earlier of the demos is probably the more streamlined, stripped back. They hadn't quite gotten so choppy and changey. It's still there, but not as much as you would get on the newer tracks from 94. What I really love about Imprecation is they're still going. They took various breaks over the years, and despite only one member remaining from this time period, which is the vocalist Dave Herrera, they still sound like they did. He's managed to get together a group of individuals to play this style that sound just like they did back in 92, 93, and 94, which is very, very impressive. And anyone since that has signed on to playing in this band just knows to stick to that mission statement. I mean, if you listen to, I think it was maybe 1 or 2 updates ago, I showed their latest album, and I pretty much said the same kind of things. They just know exactly how to play Imprecation brand death metal. I'll show you the insides here because there's a heavy book that's weighing me down. Here's the gatefold, continues more of that wonderful artwork. There's the band at the time. There's the lyrics. But to really make this a premium piece, we have this really wonderful book here. I love that. I think that's from one of the demo tape covers. And it just goes into the history of the band. David's written this part himself. Some black and white photos. Some old flyers to go see the band. Tape covers. Just festival things. Look, they played with Fear Factory. Imprecation, Fear Factory, and Obituary. What a lineup. Bit of a mix there. So yeah, this is a great little thing. Nice bit of, from the vault history of Imprecation. And now this is something, I don't usually like this style of record, but this is one time where it's really, really worked out. Let me just place this here as that. And I think this is pretty good accompaniment to it. There you go. I don't usually like splatter vinyl. It usually looks kind of hokey, but they've used every single color that's on that album cover artwork. And I think it looks pretty damn special. So yeah, a nice splatter vinyl. Presumably there's black as well. I don't actually know. I don't remember specifically ordering this. It's just what showed up. So there you go. Anyway, Imprecation with Thurgia Goisha Summa. I've never been able to say that, but I've always been able to say Texan dark death metal Imprecation. It's a fantastic release. It sounds great. It sounds better than the CD. If you never had the CD, definitely pick this up. It's fantastic. NWN, they paid attention to the mission statement as much as the band members do in modern Imprecation, and absolutely nailed it. So that's the 7 records I ordered through Seance Records label and distro out here in Australia. They ship internationally. They ship obviously Australia-wide. So do go check them out. I think internationally, you're probably going to be most interested in the stuff they release on the label themselves, but they will sell anything to anyone. Go check them out. Lots of black metal predominantly, lots of dark ambient, some death metal, some black thrash, all that kind of good stuff. Definitely go check out Seance Records. Links will be in the description below, as will be links to everything to listen to that I've shown today. Go check that stuff out. As for now, please like, subscribe, check out this thing, check out this thing. I'll see you next time.